Hey everyone, welcome to Bestie Book Reviews. I'm here with my bestie Mandy.
And I'm here with my bestie Jessica.
So we have a really fun video series that we're going to be doing with you guys. And this is called Convincing My Bestie to Read. So the idea behind this is that either Mandy or myself, depending on the week, are going to present a list of books on a certain subgenre of romance, and the other person has to choose one of those books, and they have 2 weeks to read it in, and then we will do a little review and find out if they liked it. So this video is convincing my bestie to read fantasy romance. So Mandy has only read, as far as fantasy romance go, it's just ACOTAR, right? That's the only thing you've read so far?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and she's not even finished with that series. She's read 2.5 books. And I pushed you all year. You have to read ACOTAR. You have to read ACOTAR. You have to read ACOTAR. And so
yeah, you would send me like TikToks and YouTube. It's like you were like harassing me.
But dude, it's really hard. You know what? I took a lot of time to find the right TikToks because I didn't want to give anything away. So it was really difficult to send you those TikToks to convince you to read these. But she finally picked it up in December. Hallelujah. And started reading, and now she's hooked. So I want to convince her to read one of my favorite fantasy series or romances. And so the majority of these are series, and that's kind of the thing with fantasy is typically it's not just one book. And so Mandy will choose one of these books. I have 6 for her to choose from, and she'll let us know. She's going to take her own little note, so she's going to write things down, and she's going to let us know at the end of this video which one she wants to read. So Mandy, I do have to say there's a couple in here that I've talked to you about before. There's a couple that have been on videos before too, so maybe you'll have an idea. Maybe there was one then that you mentioned that I mentioned that you might want to read. So
okay.
So before we get started, guys, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. We would love to see you come back for our future videos. Okay, and as always, check triggers. Just check them triggers. So let's get started. So the first book I have is the only physical book. Oh, and just so you know, all of these books, because this helps me, have an audiobook. One of them just released their audiobooks. Okay. So they all have audio, with the exception of one, and the audio actually comes out later this month for the first book. So it helps. As fantasy, I find the audiobooks help. They just, they help me get into them. And it was that way with you for ACOTAR though, right?
Yeah. I really enjoy the dramatization audio.
Yeah. Okay. So the first one I have is The Fae King's Curse by Jaime Schlosser. So I can't say the last name very well, but The Fae King's Curse. So this is about Kieran and Quinn. So Kieran is a Fae King, and when he's young and Quinn is very young, she finds him in the woods behind her house, and he's like drowning in the river, and she rescues him. And at this time, they're roughly the same age. And the reason why he's drowning is because he's crossed over into our world, and there has been a curse put on him where he's blind. So his parents, there's like a prequel where you find this information out. I never read the prequel, but I know it from reading the book. His parents did something to tick off the wrong kind of witch, and all of the princes, firstborn prince in the realm, is blind until they find their soulmate. The only way they can find their soulmate is by looking into their eyes. So when they see their soulmate, they instantly know when they look in the eyes. But here's the deal. He has to stay chaste. He can't even kiss somebody else, or he will remain blind if it's not his soulmate. He can't even kiss anybody else, or he'll remain blind for the rest of his life. So he meets Quinn when they're young. A day in our world is a year in his world. So he comes back and forth to see her through the portal that's out in the woods or wherever the portal was her whole life.
Oh, wait. Quinn is in like our world?
Yep, she's in our world. Yep.
Oh, now I'm intrigued.
Yes, she's in our world. So as she's growing up, he comes and visits her. But you have to think about this. He says to her, I'll see you tomorrow. And he goes home. He then has to wait a whole year before tomorrow in her world. So while she's waiting a day, he's waiting a year. And so as time progresses, when she's little, she's barely growing, right? And he'll come back a week later and he's several years older. And so at a certain age, he stops, growing and maturing. And because he is Fae, he lives for a very long time. And so one day, he's technically waited like 1,000 years for her at this point. He comes and sees her when she's a teenager. They hadn't seen each other in a while, or when she's an adult. I think 18. She's up there. She's out of school. He comes and sees her. And the first thing he does is he kisses her, which is a huge no-no because he doesn't know if she's his mate or not. And he takes her into his realm and says that they're going to get married. And when they get there, there is intrigue and there is some death plots and there's a lot of things that we don't fully understand. But he is adamant that she's his mate, but he's still blind. So, but since he's kissed her, he's either going to remain blind or she has to be his soulmate and he won't know. So it was very good. It was 5-star. Obviously, all of these are 5-star because they're just amazing. So that was the Fae King's Curse.
That sounds great. Let's wrap this up and I'll go read it.
Okay, so the next one, you heard me talk about this series before. This is the Fantasyland series by Kristen Ashley. So you hear me talk about the second book all the time, The Golden Dynasty. This is the first book. This is the first book in the series. And I do have to say that I told one of my good friends who is another reader to read The Golden Dynasty last month. So Mads will be watching this. So hi, Mads. But anyhow, she went and read it. And she's like, yeah, I love that. I want to read the whole series. And so then she Marco Polo'd me the next day and she'd started this one. She actually said this one is her favorite in the whole series. But this one is about Ceofen, or they call her Finny. And she has been raised by adrenaline junkie parents. So she, therefore, is an adrenaline junkie. And when she's a little girl, her parents, being the adrenaline junkies that they are, die in a plane crash. And so she finds out that we have, there's this parallel universe to ours. And within that parallel universe, you have a twin, same name, same parents, everything. She goes to New Orleans. She contacts they call it a witch, but she contacts a lady who is able to make contact with the other Ceofen in this parallel universe. And they agree to switch places for 6 months or a year. I don't remember, 6 months or a year. I can't remember. They agree to switch places. She's dying to do this because she wants to see her parents again. And so even though Ceofen's parents in the parallel universe are not technically her parents, they are. They have the same name. They're still her parents. So they switch places. Little does Finny know that Ceofen switched places with her on the day that she is supposed to marry this guy who is the Drakkar of a different land. So he's the leader of this other land. But his name is Frey Drakkar. So she arrives minutes before her arranged marriage to this guy. And so she did this to spend time with her parents, but no, she got duped. So she walks down the aisle. This guy hates her from the beginning because he had met the other Ceofen before. He on several occasions. The other Ceofen is a lesbian and she did not want to marry a guy. Like, who can blame her? She didn't want to marry this guy. And so, he was not thrilled about being married to a woman who wouldn't want to sleep with him and have his children. And so he starts treating Finny off fairly poorly in the beginning. He actually takes her to his cottage, dumps her butt there. He's like a pirate as well. He's a pirate as well. And he's like, I'll see ya in like a handful of weeks or months or whatever it was. And so she becomes Snow White. She makes the best out of this cottage. And she makes friends with the people in the village. And then he comes back. And then he starts to see, wait a minute. She's different. Something isn't right here. And then when he figures out that Ceofen is Finny and not the person that he thought she was, unknowingly to her. He binds her to his land with magic, so she can never go home. And she doesn't know this. So in this book, you have obviously magic. You have the cutest little dwarves, elves, things ever. There's dragons. Did I mention magic? There's magic. There's magic in this world. And so this is their adventure. They go on an adventure after that. So that is the first one in the Fantasyland series. Love that whole series. It's so good. Okay. The third option for you. You've heard me talk about this one before a lot. So, you know, you actually have it on your bookshelf, Mandy. It's behind you. Pestilence by Laura Thalassa. Okay, so this is the Four Horsemen series. So we start out with this one. This is Sarah and Pestilence. Sarah is a firefighter right across the border here in Winthrop and in BC. And the end of the world has come. So you have the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse have come to destroy the world. And when they show up, there's all four at first, and then like the other three go to bed for a while apparently, and just Pestilence is walking around, or he's actually trotting around on his horse, and every time he goes through a town, everybody gets sick and dies. So it is literally the end of the world. And so she is a firefighter, and she and three of the other firefighters have decided that they're going to draw whoever draws the short straw, they have matches, whoever draws the short straw is going to be the one that has to kill Pestilence. Well, she draws the short straw. So Sarah is waiting on the side of this deserted road for Pestilence to come through. They've gotten word that Pestilence is on his way through their town, and it's up to her to kill him to save humanity. So as Pestilence is coming through, she shoots him and kills him. So she thinks. She even lights him on fire. But that doesn't kill him. He regenerates because, you know, Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse can't really kill him. And he finds it very interesting. I mean, people have tried to kill him all over, you know. He actually pleads with her to help him when he's dying, and she doesn't. But for some reason, there is something about her. He's going to actually kill her. And then all of a sudden, he just stops. And it's like a light bulb comes on in his head. And you find out why later. But he decides to take her on his slaughtering adventure with him. And so he goes out from the Vancouver area, goes Winthrop, Vancouver, out to Victoria, back to I-5, and down through Seattle. And so you have, in the meantime, you have Sarah trying to pull out his humanity in him. And so this is their story. Love this series. War is my favorite, which is the second one, but because Pestilence is literally going down the roads that we travel, it was very creepy. It was very creepy. So there's Pestilence. The other one that I have, this is the fourth one. This is a very big book. This is all three books in one. So this is a trilogy. This is the Bargainer series. So the first book is actually called Rhapsodic, and it is by, again, shocker, Laura Thalassa. So same as the last one, but she does a really good job. So this one is about Calypso. She is a siren, and she has been making bargains with the Fae King, or they refer to him as the Bargainer, for years, for like 7 years. And every time she gets him to do a favor for her, she gets like this bead, like a beaded bracelet. I imagine like this, but it wraps all the way up her arm. These black beads, they wrap all the way up her arm. And that is a favor that she owes him back. And the only thing that she has to repay whatever he wants when he comes to collect. And he's been known as a guy to always collect his debts. But for 7 years, he hasn't collected from her. And she gets, I mean, just crazy, like all the time. You see it, she's always getting these favors from him. And so she has a lot that she owes him. So he shows up one day to collect. The first thing he wants is a kiss, because why wouldn't you? I mean, hello. But there's other things happening. In the Fae realm, Fae warriors are going missing. So she's in our world. He travels back and forth. in the Fae realm, the Fae warriors are going missing, and nobody knows what's happening to them. But what is happening is the female Fae warriors, because you have both male and female warriors in his land, are being returned in glass coffins, like, you know, Snow White in a glass coffin with a baby on their chest. And they're like, nobody knows what's happening. There's this big, dark, bad happening that they've got to figure out to save his realm. But at the same time, you got their story and him trying to claim, like, to get all his favors back. He needs her help in his realm. And yeah, she's got to repay them debts. So he's big and pretty too. Big, dark, and pretty, like the rest of them. Big, dark, and pretty. So that is Rhapsodic.
Okay.
Okay. Now, you're right now reading the ACOTAR series.
Yes.
But Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I will say there is no actual steam in these books. This is I want to say it's an 8-book series. There's a couple novellas too. This is long. You only got to read the first one to start. If you like it, you keep going.
Okay.
There's a lot that comes out, but there's no steam, no like actual on-page steam until book 5, I want to say, because the first few are YA. So good though, like so good. So this is about, Throne of Glass. So this one is about Selena is her name. Sardothian. Selena Sardothian is her full name. She is like the world's best assassin. Like everybody knows her name, but nobody knows what's happened to her. She's actually in these slave pits, like mining this. Somehow she got thrown in. You find out later what happened, but she's in these weird slave pits. It's like a mining thing that they do, and working her little tail off, and just trying to survive. And one day the prince and his captain, the guards, show up. And they're like, there's going to be a competition for the king's champion, and we want you to be our person to do it. Like everybody has like their person they sponsor. And so they take her out of these slave pits and they take her to the capital and they get her all gussied up. And she has to defeat 23 other individuals to be the king's champion and to win her freedom. But in the meantime, there's other things happening. People are showing up dead. There's a lot of mystery and magic going on here. There's also a question of, it's almost kind of like a little love triangle-y for the first half, or for the first couple books, first 2 books. There's a little bit of a little love triangle situation going on here. So good. So I read this last year in January. I read all 8 within a week. And the last one is huge. And you already like Sarah J. Maas, so this is another option. Honestly, though, if you're reading ACOTAR right now, I'd say wait. So that's just my thing. But Throne of Glass. Okay, and the last book. We talked about this one last night. But From Blood and Ash by Jennifer Armentrout. Who hasn't heard of this book? I mean, come on. Okay, so
I actually hadn't.
I know, but it's very popular. I mean, that Throne of Glass, like a lot of these are very, very popular. These are the more popular of the fantasy romance. Okay, so without giving too much away, because it's very hard describing this series. This is not completed, but if you read the first book and you love it, then you know you're going to want to go on. And again, it's on audio. I listened to the audio. Because it's not a small book, and they just keep getting bigger. So this is about Poppy. So Poppy has known, like, she's been special since birth. She is the maiden, is what they refer to her as. She has to wear like this white veil over her face, and she's waiting for her day of ascension. She's waiting to ascend. And we really don't know in the beginning, or we really don't know for quite a while, what that entails, what that means. But at the same time, she's this, like, I think she's like 18. She's this young girl, and she just wants to live a normal life, and she wants to have fun. She has this guard. She has this guard around her at all times, which she really gets along with. And, those are the only people she knows. She's living in like a castle type thing, guarded by I think it's her aunt and uncle, if I remember right. They're like the Duke and Duchess. And there's just all this mystery as to what is this ascension? What is really going on? Why is she the maiden? So because she's the maiden, she has to be kept pure. She has to remain a virgin until her ascension day. And again, we don't know what the ascension is, right? So one night she sneaks out and she goes to like this, I don't want to call it a brothel. It's not really a brothel. It's more like a, I mean, there's that going on too, but it's more like a place where the guys go to play cards and gamble. It's like a gambling hall kind of thing. And she meets Hawk, who is a guard, and she likes him. She likes him a lot. So Hawk likes her. Like somehow he gets put on her protection detail, and they get to know each other. There's definite attraction. He teaches her how to fight a little bit. Hawk is like, and in the meantime, you're hearing about this other group, this other thing that is starting to rise, like it's like a rebellion almost. And it has a lot to do with the title. They have like a saying, from the ash of blood. I can't remember what it is, but there's a saying that they all say. There's like, it's like they're trying to overthrow the government that she lives in right now, and try to overthrow what's happening. So there's also that intrigue. But let me tell you, plot twist threw me for a loop. So for Blood and Ash. Okay, so those are your 6 options. Okay. What are you going to read? What do you think? Oh, do you got questions or anything first?
I don't think I have any questions. I agree with you. I think I want to finish the Court of Thorns and Roses. Like I'm on the 3rd book. I want to finish that before I start another series by the same author. So I agree with you on that. So I'm going to rule that one out automatically from that. So the 2 that stand out to me the most that I'm like, ooh, I want to read is the first one, The Fae King's Curse.
Okay.
I love the idea that he's trying to break this curse and he risks it for Quinn. Like, I love that. Like, so I want to see how that all plays out. So I really like that one. And then the last one from Blood and Ash sounds really, really good. So I'm torn between picking from the 2 of those. So I think.
Okay. So this might help you decide. Blood and Ash is not finished. Okay. So you have to keep that in mind. And they're very big books. And if you get sucked in after the first one, by the time you get to the 4th, you're like, dang it, now what? I think she has one coming out this year. I'm not 100% sure. I have to look. But so the Fae King's Curse is, well, it's a series, but there are different couples in each series. So that's the one is just them, the first one. So that might help you decide too.
Yes. So for convincing my bestie to read, I'm going to go ahead and read The Fae King's Curse. And then I think I'm definitely putting for From Blood and Ash on my TBR, and I will probably be reading that soon. But for this, I'm going to definitely read The Fae King's Curse.
Yay! Okay. So we can even buddy read the From Blood and Ash and vlog that, just so you know. But okay, so The Fae King's Curse by Jaime Schlosser. So let's check back. We'll check back in 2 weeks and see what you thought of it on our Bestie Book Team.
Yes, and then I will be convincing my bestie to read a book.
Yes, which I'm so excited about this series. So
make sure you tune back in.
Definitely. Let us know in the comments if any of these books got you excited to read.
Yeah. Did Jessica convince you to read any of these books?
Definitely. Yeah. Okay. So thanks for joining us. Again, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And we plan to do convincing our bestie to read every 2 weeks.
Yes. So make sure you check back on Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays for new videos from Bestie Book Reviews.
Okay. So
go read.
Go read.